A frozen body found melting out of ice in the Alps in 1991. Scientists expected a modern hiker. Instead, they found a man who died over 5,000 years ago, preserved so completely that his skin, his organs, even his last meal survived intact. His name became Ötzi. Inside his gut, researchers found parasite eggs, proof of infection, discomfort, disease. Exactly the kind of grim detail that fits our image of the ancient past as filthy and primitive. But then they looked closer. His fingernails were carefully trimmed. His clothing was layered, waterproof, expertly stitched, and tied to his belt was a small pouch of fungus with real antimicrobial properties, something closer to a medical kit than random debris. So, which is true? Was Ötzi's world disgusting, or was it more advanced than we assume? That contradiction sits at the center of a much bigger question, one that stretches far beyond a single body in the ice. Was the past really as gross as we think? To answer that, we have to follow the evidence forward, through the civilizations most often blamed for filth. Start with Rome. Popular imagination pictures Roman streets as open sewers. But archaeology tells a stranger story. Rome built aqueducts that carried fresh water across entire regions. Public bathhouses, some large enough to hold thousands of people at once, operated daily. Bathing wasn't rare in Rome. It was a social ritual, almost a national obsession. That should settle the question. Rome, at least, was clean, except one detail complicates everything. Roman public toilets often used a shared tool, a sponge attached to a stick, soaked in vinegar or salt water, passed from person to clean themselves after using the latrine. The same sponge, the same stick, used by strangers one after another all day long. Modern doctors would call that a direct pathway for spreading disease. Ancient Romans called it normal hygiene. So Rome wasn't dirty by accident. It was dirty by design, wrapped inside a system that looked, on the surface, remarkably advanced. That pattern, sophistication paired with hidden danger, becomes even sharper in the next era historians love to blame: medieval Europe. For decades, popular culture insisted medieval people never bathed, that soap didn't exist, that everyone simply stank through their entire lives. The archaeological and historical record tells a different story. Soap-making guilds existed across medieval Europe. Public bathhouses operated in major cities, similar in spirit to Roman baths centuries earlier. Wealthier households built private bathing rooms. Herbal recipes for cleaning teeth and treating wounds survive in monastery records. Bathing wasn't extinct. It was common, at least for a while. Then a single event changed everything. In the 1300s, the Black Death swept across Europe, killing an estimated 1/3 of the population in just a few years. Doctors at the time didn't understand germs. They didn't know bacteria caused disease. So they reached for the best explanation available: bad air rising from open pores, letting sickness enter the body. If warm water opened your pores, then bathing suddenly looked dangerous, not healthy. Public bathhouses closed. Bathing habits collapsed almost overnight, not from ignorance, but from a logical response to catastrophic, misunderstood death. For the first time in this investigation, the story isn't simply progress moving backward. It is fear rewriting behavior in real time. That fear didn't disappear quickly. It shaped hygiene practices for centuries afterward, which brings the story to an era that should have solved everything: the 19th century, the age of science, industry, and medical breakthroughs. Victorian England. By this point, doctors understood far more about the body than medieval physicians ever had. Sanitation engineering was advancing rapidly. Cities were growing wealthier, more organized, more modern than anything before. And yet, this era hides one of the strangest chapters in the entire history of hygiene. Victorian cosmetics regularly contained arsenic, used to whiten skin. Wallpaper in fashionable homes was frequently dyed with arsenic-based pigments, releasing toxic dust into the air people breathed every day. Some medicines sold openly in pharmacies contained mercury, a substance we now know causes severe neurological damage. This wasn't ignorance from a lack of scientific thinking. It was the opposite. Victorian society had enormous confidence in science, chemistry, and progress. They simply hadn't yet discovered how dangerous these specific substances truly were. Confidence outpaced knowledge, and that gap turned fashionable homes and medicine cabinets into slow, invisible sources of poisoning. At the same time, London faced a public health disaster that exposed a different kind of blind spot entirely. In 1854, a severe cholera outbreak tore through the Soho district, killing over 600 people in a matter of days. At the time, most doctors believed disease spread through miasma, the same bad air theory that had shut down medieval bathhouses centuries earlier. One physician disagreed. His name was John Snow. Instead of blaming the air, Snow mapped every single cholera death in the neighborhood, case by case, street by street. The pattern that emerged pointed to one place, a single water pump on Broad Street. Snow convinced local officials to remove the pump S handle. Cholera cases in the area dropped almost immediately afterward. The real cause wasn't bad air at all. It was sewage, leaking into the water supply, spreading disease through something Victorians drank every single day. This single investigation helped launch modern epidemiology, the scientific study of how disease spreads through populations. It also proved, definitively, that centuries of medical assumptions about filth and illness had been built on the wrong foundation entirely. So return to the original question. Was the past really that gross? The honest answer refuses to be simple. Ötzi carried early medicine, yet lived surrounded by parasites. Romans built extraordinary plumbing, yet cleaned themselves with a shared, unwashed sponge. Medieval Europeans bathed regularly until fear of plague convinced them that water itself was dangerous. Victorians advanced medicine and science, while accidentally poisoning themselves with the very products meant to make them beautiful and healthy. There was no steady climb from filth to cleanliness, no simple line moving upward through history. Instead, there's a repeating pattern. Real knowledge sitting right beside real danger, often for reasons that made perfect sense at the time. What actually changed everything wasn't willpower or manners or moral progress. It was germ theory. The scientific understanding, confirmed only in the late 19th century, that microscopic organisms cause disease. Before that discovery, even the most advanced civilizations in history were fighting an enemy they couldn't see, guided by theories that sounded reasonable, but were often completely wrong. The past wasn't stupid. It was working with the best information available, one dangerous guess after another, until science finally caught up. And that, more than any story about sponges or bathhouses or arsenic-dusted wallpaper, is the real history of human hygiene.